Ladies and gentlemen, Ilana is about to come on and really dive into how to be the authority in your field, especially around the area of PR, media, interviews. So we're going to dive into that in just a second. Before that, I'm talking to you because you're becoming your greatest possible self. You're taking steps into your GPS, and however I can support you along that journey, let's talk. Let's see how we can support each other. Specifically, I love bringing people onto the 12-hour marathon. So when you're ready to get your message out to our audience and help them become their greatest possible selves, I would love to have a conversation. And also when you're ready to launch your own platform, your own podcast, and create your own tribe and impact that whole freaking just your industry, right? Like create your own authority, as I'm sure Ilana and I are going to talk about the power of media, the power of having a platform. Let's talk about that too. So you can get a hold of me, Chris at beyourgps.com, Instagram at IamMillionaireChris, and Facebook.com/TH3Burns. Would love to hear from you. Hear how you're grown into your GPS. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for tuning in. Next up is our iTunes review of the week, and this week it's by Hannah 1125. Hannah says, always a nugget. Chris shows up with such authentic interest in the guest and the audience every single show. Absolutely, I do. Every single show has a golden nugget that I can start implementing in my life right away. It feels like Chris really believes we can all become our greatest self and consistently shows us how. If this isn't in your ear, you are missing out on loads of inspiration, action, and your own greatness. So thanks so much, Hannah. If you want to give us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes or search Greatest Possible Self on the Apple Podcast Store and leave us a review. Definitely subscribe while you're there so you can get all the latest updates and episodes of Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to growing on our journey together. I'm going to introduce Ilana in just a second here. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, because I know there's a ton of people in the audience, authors, speakers, coaches, entrepreneurs who want to make a big impact in the world, and this is going to be one of the best ways that you can do that. So definitely stay tuned, and let's introduce Ilana. Make sure you stay all the way through till the end of the episode. We're going to have a lot of fun. Do you want to be considered an expert in your field? Do you wonder how others get on TV, radio, or podcasts? It's all about PR. What is PR and how do you get your message out there? Well, we have Ilana to tell us more about that today. We're going to dive into an incredible conversation. So Ilana, are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
Yes, I am. Thank you. I would like to say first, if you hear a dog barking, it's my puppy, so I apologize.
We love dogs around here, so it is perfect.
Chasing the cat around the house, so I'm just like...
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. So thank you so much for being here. And even with the dog and the craziness and the cat, you're awesome. Appreciate you, Ilana. And let's dive right into the theme of today, which is the power of authority. And you are also one of the people who made or inspired me, I should say, to choose this theme. So what does that mean for you, Ilana, the power of authority?
So I think that a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm an expert, I'm this sought after coach, what have you. And the thing is that building your authority and like becoming that expert is getting your name in print, getting on TV, getting on podcasts, and being able to share that with your audience. Because it's like when you walk into a store, let's say, and you see a product and it says as seen on TV, you go, oh yeah, I remember I saw that and I saw exactly how it worked. And I, this and this and this. And it just clicks in your head, because when you're able to see somebody on TV or hear them on a podcast or in print, you go, oh, they know what they're talking about. They were in Forbes or Huffington Post or even a small trade magazine. So it just takes you to the next level.
Wow. So it's like the authority is when you're witnessed somewhere else and say, hey, I was featured. I was on a platform. I was on a place that people tune into for guidance, for leadership, for knowing who's who and what's what and what I should trust and what I shouldn't trust kind of thing. Then that is what will direct people to continue wanting to build a relationship with you. And if people don't have that, then they're missing out on a key component of helping and serving people, because if people don't take the action, if they don't buy your products or services, then they're not getting the benefit. And just because someone didn't have the media appearances for that, like that's silly to not take advantage of this beautiful resource that's available.
I think it's like, if I was to, if I'm looking for a speaker
Mm,
at my convention, let's
yeah.
say, and I go to your website, Chris, and
Hmm.
I look at you and I look at somebody else, I can see on your site what
Mm,
you look like, what you sound like,
yeah.
what your like charisma is,
Hmm.
just your personality, and get a feel for you rather than go on somebody else's site and there's nothing. So,
Mm,
PR is a part of your marketing strategy and plan. It's not the whole thing.
right.
So you have to then repurpose your
Mm,
clips, your articles, use that in your advertising and your marketing plan. And so it can't just stand on its own,
mm,
because when you go on TV, you're not going to get, for the most part, people buying your book, people going to your website. That's not what it's about. So you have to then use that and use those clips, and you could even, no audio or audio somebody introducing you, but you make that into a sizzle reel and send that
right.
out, when you want to do a speaking engagement, what have you.
Right, right. That's freaking gold. I love it, Alana. This is a great, great start. And for people who are just getting connected with you, why don't you share a little bit more about who you are, what you stand for, and what your clients come to you for?
Sure. So I went to school for broadcast journalism. So I wanted to be a news reporter, but I wanted to
Mm,
do entertainment news. And I was in news. I worked here in Los Angeles at NBC LA. And I saw such a change in the news. So there was a huge newsroom. I mean, there was so many people, it was exploding. By the time I left, it was a skeleton crew.
mm,
And I just thought, well, do I want to go to Lubbock, Texas? No offense to anyone who may be from there, or Alaska, and do regular news and kind of work my way up
mm,
into entertainment and hope. So I started my own entertainment site called MsHollywood.com and started, doing celebrity interviews and really getting myself out there. And through the process of jobs, and, I worked in social media, and then I fell into PR. And I worked, with authors a lot, who a lot of your audience, coaches,
hmm.
speakers, they sell whatever product online.
Right.
So I started working with them and basically started to master going through their book and finding an angle that's newsworthy.
Mm,
So really looking at that and knowing, coming from a news background, what the producer is looking for
yeah.
is super important.
Hmm.
So I started building these TV segment proposals and basically laying out for the producer exactly what you're going to talk about. Like, here's the intro, here's their points, laying everything out so that they don't even have to think about it. It's just there.
Right.
So I started doing that, and then, went into technology PR,
Mm,
was working with big brands. I've worked another PR campaign with Toyota, with Pampers, with Key Smart, a whole bunch of other things. And through that, having jobs, not having jobs, I connected with Jeff Hunter,
mm,
who runs branded media and I think a VA staffer. We went to high school together. I was friends with his sister, and
wow.
I saw what he was doing, and I said, hey, I think I could help you, get on TV, get on podcasts, all this kind of stuff. He was doing some of it, and he was, paying somebody, not really getting a lot of results. And I told him, I said, I found what I like to do, and that's really, in your audience group like yours, Chris, and talking to, coaches and speakers and all, and just basically training them on, how to do those media placements, how to speak on TV, how to speak in sound bites, finding their message.
Mm,
If you want to go on TV, you cannot be super specific. So
mm,
if you, let's say, you're marketing strategy person, but you're speaking on such a level that's really only for people in that field that would understand. So you have to speak in very broad terms.
mm,
So, you have to find something, that little piece that would work for television. And some people don't understand that. And some people are like, I'm not doing that. That's not my message.
mm,
And I say, yeah, it's not, but let's find somewhere how your message can tie in there,
right.
because again, you're not getting clients from those TV placements. You're using those videos to help you, in your marketing strategy, etc.
Right.
So I really love working with all types of entrepreneurs, coaches. I worked with one lady, she has a call center, and it was finding that business side. And she's a mom of 7 and runs this, multi-million dollar company. So you find different angles, that work. And
Right.
so that's what I've, set forth to kind of continue in that realm. I really enjoy, having that one-on-one with these clients and really finding what is the right message for them, and then watching to see what they do next.
Yeah, beautiful. So it sounds like a lot of the people who you work with, they know what their message is to some level, and they just haven't maybe crafted it in a way so that they can put it in front of a journalist or an editor or something like that, so that the news person says, "Ooh, that is awesome. That's a great hook. That's a great direction. It's a great angle. I want to get that out to more people." And it sounds like a lot of them may also not recognize, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be this niche message to get out to the world, but something that's more broad, so that people, the lay people, so to speak, who are just watching news and television, it will still be of benefit to them. But the real benefit for the coach, author, speaker is saying, I was featured on blank station.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, you can be more specific if you go on a podcast that's towards, your specific niche. And
Right.
so you can get more specific on those things, and you can speak longer. So when you go on TV, you might have, 2 to 4 minutes. So you have to know you're going to have to travel, you're going to have to book your flight and book the hotel. I don't do that for you. But it's knowing what are you going to do with this after the fact. And it doesn't matter if it's NBC Santa Barbara or NBC Washington, D.C.
Right.
It doesn't, because the lay person is not going to know market rankings. So basically every station around the country is ranked. So it's usually by population, like New York, number 1, LA, that type of stuff. But nobody's going to necessarily look at that. What they're going to look at is NBC, ABC, CBS. It's not going to be, oh, I was on NBC Santa Barbara. Just put NBC. So you put that, and then you have your clip, and it shows that. And again, you can be more specific on podcasts or radio or print, type of thing. So you have to just know the different styles of messaging and what it is that you want to accomplish, and then go from there. If you want to do TV, then this is what we're going to do. And sometimes people want to do 1 to 2 TV, and they want to do, 1 to 2 podcasts, or they want to do all podcasts. So it's really, you got to look at what you're trying to accomplish by doing these interviews.
Wow. It's powerful. I love it. So really, it depends on where people are at. What's their goal? Who's their audience? What's their message? What's the product or service that they deliver, that will really determine if they should go on to news, or if they should go on to podcast, or where they should go.
Yes. Yeah. And there's a lot leading up to it. So, I mean, you need to have your messaging. If this, let's say, okay, this is the messaging that I'm sticking with, and this is, I live and breathe this, then that should be seen across your Facebook page, across Instagram, on your website. The messaging should be absolutely consistent with what you're selling. So if I go to your website and I'm just like, I have no idea what the hell this person does. I've had that happen before, where I'm like, okay, your website doesn't look good. It doesn't have high resolution photos. It doesn't have an about me section. There should be a media section to where you're going to put your clips and things like that. So there's a lot of things that you need to think about going into it, because, if you go on TV, maybe there's a couple people, that go to your website. Well, your website should be not, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but your website should have your messaging and should be very clear, and should have your social media links, and make sure that everything, is together before you decide, I'm going to, spend all this time,
Right.
money, resources, going on and doing these things and coming to my website, and my website looks like crap, which has happened, many times, where I say, get your website and your Facebook and all of that aligned. Your links need to be working, all of these things, and look at what it is that you want to accomplish, and, kind of help them. I look at the website and say, okay, you're missing this, and kind of, gear them in the right direction with what to be looking for and what to do.
So in the beginning, some of the biggest challenges are they don't have that foundation in place. They don't have the beautiful environment and even functional environment sometimes that people can go to, whether they search for them on Facebook or their website or Instagram or wherever they might look for them.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about ranking, at this point. You just need something that is there, that is legible, that is easy to access and easy to read and get through, and has all of your links. If you click on Facebook, it works. If you click on Twitter or LinkedIn, it works. It's not leading you to, an error page. So you need to, look at those things and be ready for going on to whatever. I mean, any time. It doesn't matter if you want to do PR or not. Make sure that your messaging is consistent, because people need to go to your site and say, oh, I know exactly what this person does, and it doesn't mean that you have to have video right now or whatever. That you can build on, but you need to have that foundation, and then PR is a part of that foundation, and then you have your marketing, that helps with that whole thing.
Beautiful. So how does the authority, so to speak, how does that tie into the having the right media, having the right marketing, and executing on that? How does it all piece together?
I'm trying to think of the best way. So basically, you're going out, you're showing validation, you're displaying credibility, you're amping up your branding, you're boosting your perception to the world that you're, BFD. You are the number one thing. So, it's really, again, how you use it. So, Jeff, for instance, Jeff Hunter, I think is brandedmedia.io. He went and did TV, not on the virtual assistant. He didn't have branded media really up and going yet. So we found, okay, so it was around the holidays. What can we do? Well, we can talk about travel hacks. And part of that, the last thing was, if you're running a business, if you're doing this, that, and the other, you can hire a virtual assistant to where you don't have to worry about certain things while you're gone, to help set up automation, et cetera. So it leads back to his business, but it was something totally different. And I mean, he was booking things left and right. And he didn't necessarily use those clips, the whole, him talking about all of this stuff. It was, hey, here's expert Jeff Hunter, blah, blah, blah. And then those logos, and being able to use that, and then take that, and put it with his speaking, and, use that in this sizzle reel type of thing. You can also have, things popping up like Forbes, whatever. So, you have to be clear on the messaging. And that's where I think that I'm able to really help people, is to look at, okay, what it is that you want to accomplish. If all you want to accomplish is, to get out and, practice maybe, or, you just want, I had one guy that just wanted one TV placement, and he was going to use that in all of his stuff. Great. I can do that. A client wanted just podcasts, alone. Some people want to mix. So it's really looking at what you want to do at the end, and then trying to figure out the best way to make that. Some people can't travel. That's fine. You can do podcasts like I'm doing with you. I'm at home. Right. So you can do those things, or at work or on the road. You can, print is a little bit harder to get into, just because, these reporters and journalists have so many stories, and they're trying to figure it out. So, and the wait time, for those things, that doesn't always happen right away. It's not guaranteed.
So you're saying TV and radio or podcasts, those, the lead time or whatever to actually get on the show is much less than writing, because journalists are like overwhelmed with different stories.
Yeah, I think that with print, I dealt with print with my technology clients, and I would get hit up every day and be like, oh, we're working on this story. Do you have this? Do you have that? Well, sometimes you submit your client and they don't get chosen, and so with what I'm doing with Jeff, we actually guarantee 4 placements. So I guarantee you that you're going to get on TV or you're going to get on podcasts, because I've spent so many years building up these relationships and knowing what they want and what they're looking for, so that I can send them to you. I can send them, to whatever podcast or TV. I've made relationships with these producers. And yes, I have relationships with these writers, but they have to then take it to their editor, and, so it's not always guaranteed. It's not like I don't try. It's just a lot harder. And I would say for a lot of people, look at being a Forbes contributor, look at doing those things, because that'll help you as well. Doing that, I believe there is a cost with that. And I still look for all these opportunities for my clients. It's just not as easy to get those things, especially to guarantee that. Right. So it's definitely something I always work on, is getting my clients in print. But then you have to look at, okay, with podcasts and with TV, you can actually hear the person or see the person, those type of things.
What do you, quick question, what are what advice do you give to people who aren't like photogenic or confident with their media, voice, or video appearance?
So what I do with them is, after I've written the segment proposal or the pitch, I work with them and do mock interviews. So I will do a Zoom or a Skype or even a phone call and just quiz them. I think you need to know your messaging backwards and forwards. And again, if you go on TV, it's a little bit different. And because I do the TV segment proposal, for the most part, they work off of that. So they know, oh, this is what the person's talking about. So they really ask questions around those specific things. So it's not really going to, throw you off. This isn't a press conference.
Right.
So doing those mock interviews with them, practicing questions, looking at how they respond and how their body language is, speaking in sound bites. You want to make sure that you get your messaging out. So the way that I create TV segment proposals is really, what is the problem and what is the solution? So, if you have somebody, let's say I have a client that talks about weight loss, but he has this whole thing that he does with his clients that's very unique and different. So the problem, you have, obesity in America, people are trying to lose weight and can't, because, they do all these things and they're not losing. So they go off track, and okay, that's the problem. And then here's the solution that my client specifically brings to that problem and makes him different. And then I list out, here's some steps, that you can do to get started on those things. So it's not necessarily about his, business. Right. We're not saying, oh, no, you need to sign up, to get these things. It's, here's 4 quick steps. So I work with him on those steps and getting to know that stuff, and just looking at his body language, talk about what to wear, what not to wear, because there's a lot of things that go into TV. Women need to get their hair done, either if you can do it yourself or, go somewhere. I mean, there's tons of these like blow dry places, things like that. You can, usually they're early morning, so you can have, a makeup artist or whatever do it, but you need to have makeup, because the camera, the lighting, everything, it'll wash you out and you look pale like this. So you don't, want that. You don't want to look like a ghost, you know, and you want to look presentable. Remember, you are your brand, you're representing your brand. So it's really talking about this thing. I have clients send me pictures about, oh, this is what I'm going to wear. Is that okay? You know, and whatever. And yes, I talk them through it and, you know, look about what color would look best on you, you know, and try to make it as comfortable as possible, because I'm not going to be there with you when you go do these TV segments or podcasts. And, you know, don't doubt yourself. Just go in and be like, I am my brand. I know my brand. I know what I'm talking about, and it's going to go by so fast. So be present in the moment.
Yeah, that's great. I love how you talked about the accessories, the hair, the outfit. Like, how do you stand out? How do you look great? And also the problem solution formula, like really understanding what is the problem that my audience, my ideal client is experiencing right now, and how do I address that in some kind of headline. And maybe for you know, media appearances, TV, podcast, someone isn't necessarily responsible for that, but they can contribute to them, saying, hey, here's what the outline will be. And it sounds like you'll help them with that as well, to like create a compelling, here's what we're here to talk about today kind of thing, the benefit statement headline.
It's the same as TV. It's like, you know, a laid out pitch like that. It's just for podcasts, like I said, you can be a little bit more, you know, specific and niche. So it's the same type of layout. I always, no matter what type of pitch, you know, look at problem solution. It doesn't matter if it's a product or if it's a person. You know, somebody has to bring that unique stance to the table.
So good. So I want to talk about repurposing and using the content once people have it. What do we need to know about doing that effectively?
So I think, you know, that's where Jeff, you know, and his team comes in after they're, you know, done with me, is really looking at those clips and finding those, you know, moments, whether it's a soundbite with you talking about, you know, A, B, C, D, whatever, or if it's just, you know, them introducing you and you sitting there, if it's, you know, audio, you know, looking at graphics to be done. Ultimately, you're wanting to take out ads, you know, put it on your website. It's going to help you with your SEO, you know, all of that. So you have to go in already thinking about those things and thinking about what kind of you want for the outcome. And, you know, like, what do they say? You gotta spend money to make money type of thing. And so again, it's building that credibility and visibility and being able to then, you know, take out those Facebook ads or Instagram ads, and it will, you know, as seen on, you know, whatever, or just the clip of you talking. And then it's like, you know, to get your life, you know, where you want it to go, and, you know, come visit, you know, my website, whatever. So it's really looking at those things and finding different ways. And, you know, you could then even recycle. One thing that I was, you know, talking to Jeff and a whole bunch of clients about is when you do these, it doesn't matter if TV, podcast, whatever, you can shoot some like behind the scenes video. Everybody loves that stuff. I love watching behind the scenes of a TV show or a movie, whatever. I just like seeing that kind of stuff. As you can see, I'm obsessed with Hollywood and entertainment. So it's kind of cool. Like Jeff, when he was in San Francisco and other places, he would film himself, you know, walking into the studio, and, you know, you're kind of like living vicariously, you know, through him and getting to see his experience. And, you know, if you have somebody there with you, have them shoot, you know, some behind the scenes of you in the green room, you know, you're putting that up. And then let's say, you know, the next Thursday, you're like Throwback Thursday when I was, you know, on NBC, you know, whatever. You can repurpose that stuff in that way on Facebook or Instagram. I will repurpose stuff all the time from Ms. Hollywood and just be like, you know, a year ago today, I was on the red carpet, you know, interviewing, you know, so-and-so. And a year ago, I was sitting down with Jay Leno, you know, whatever it may be. And so again, it just goes, oh, I didn't see this the first time, you know, and now I see that. And it's just engaging your audience and letting them see, you know, all the cool things that you're doing.
Yeah. That's so awesome. And I love how you mentioned like something from a year ago, even though someone might think that, oh, well, I already used it once. It's like, okay, that's great. And use it again and again and again and again.
The way that Facebook and Instagram works, there's like a lot of things that get lost,
Yeah.
and it's repurposing that. And then, you might post a little anecdote of like, I this was my first appearance and I'm so glad that I did it, whatever, to repurpose it in that way and just add something, different. I can't believe it's been, a month since I did this and I learned so much. And, whatever that it is that you want to, talk about. I mean, when memories come up in your Facebook, if you're like me, you share them. And I will share and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that, 4 or 5 years ago, I was at my cousin's graduation and now, she's a teacher and, doing this and that. So, you have to look at different ways that you can use that content.
Yeah, it's gold. And I think a lot of people underestimate the value of reusing it, and they like make it so difficult on themselves. Like you can post something on Facebook one day, and then a week later post it on Instagram and people like wouldn't even know the difference, like it's to really maximize that content that we create once and use as much as we can.
You can cut the clips, so that, because when you do a podcast, sometimes it might be 10 minutes, might be half an hour, whatever. You can go in and clip those and have different clips, and you can use those, let's say bi-weekly, and say, oh, here's me talking about this. Yes, it's the same podcast, but most people, if they're not just going on to listen, they're not going to click and say, oh, I want to hear your entire, thing. Pick those sound bites, like you say, that are nuggets that you can, which by the way is my dog's name, Nugget. Which is because he's so small. So you have to find those things, even with TV, cut, splice, do that, because again, people's attention span is not long, which is why with TV, it has to be very broad, because most people that are watching TV can read at a 4th grade reading level. So that's why things are very simplified when you're watching TV, right? When you're watching the news, because usually you're cooking, you're doing this, you're doing that. And then you hear a story like, news at 11, you can't eat peas anymore, they're poison. And you're like, what? It's just, certain things that get your attention. So find those little things that you can repurpose and use. And if it's a podcast, spend some time, spend some money getting a graphic behind, whatever it is, to get people's attention, whatever. So you have to look at those different ways that you can use that. And that's where Jeff and I work really well together, is to help the clients, do that and to succeed after the fact in growing their, clientele.
Yeah, I love it. And speaking of repurposing, there's an app called Headliner. I don't know if you've heard of it, but you can basically take a podcast or a video and repurpose it and put it into like a 1-minute clip or something like that, which is awesome for people who want to be able to splinter that content out. So it's called Headliner. Just Google that. It's a great service.
You don't have to have, thousands of dollars of equipment. Use your phone. There's tons of resources online. I mean, I use different things to download videos from YouTube, and then I'm able, to edit that if my client's videos on YouTube, or, screen grabs, or, whatever. You don't need to have Final Cut. You don't need to have, cameras. I would say if you're trying to record something yourself and do that, make sure that, you're in a good place, that you look good, and being able, to do that. But, for a lot of these editing things, you don't need to, spend thousands of dollars after you've already spent money, going to do these interviews. You can do that, pretty cheaply, yourself. And you don't need to have, a master's degree in film to do that. Thank goodness for a lot of the technology nowadays. I mean, I taught myself everything, how to edit, how to shoot. I mean, I went to school for journalism, like I said, for broadcast, but they don't teach you a lot of that stuff in there. So if it's something you want to do, kind of learn how to do it yourself, or surround yourself with people that know how to do it,
Yeah, 100%. So, Ilana, I'm curious about your fascination with the entertainment industry. How do you think that has shaped how you serve speakers, coaches, authors, people who are building an online brand, or even products, people with products, online marketers and entrepreneurs? How do you think that's shaped your current view of supporting and serving these people?
Well, I think, journalism really is all about telling a story
Mm.
and finding that story. I'm always interested in good storytelling. So my friends make fun of me because when I go, this is where I always say I'm not like my family, but
Mm.
as I get older, I realize I'm more and more like them. I see a lot of mannerisms that are like my father or like my aunt. So if I go into a restaurant, whatever, I'm always talking to the waiter or waitress. If
Mm.
they say, "Hey, how are you?" I'm like, "Good. How are you? How's your day?" I'm always interested in that. And my friends are always like, "Okay, we need to go." I will talk to people on the street. I when in New York, I was talking to people on the subway. I was like, I when I grew up, when I was growing up, I wanted to have my own talk show. I
Wow.
wanted to be the next Oprah, but white and Jewish. That was like
Mm.
my thing. I
That's
was
right.
just,
I
I'm
love
going to
it.
be Oprah. So, that was part of the reason why I'd started Ms. Hollywood.
Mm.
But really, it comes down to telling these stories. And I'm fascinated by why people do what they do and why they get into certain things.
Mhm.
I mean, I really thought my life was going to take me in a completely different direction. I thought I was going to be on Extra or Entertainment Tonight or one of those things, and it's kind of taken me in this whole other direction
Mm.
of doing PR. But again, it's about working with amazing people and finding their story and telling that story and really getting to know them on a personal level and saying, maybe we're going about this wrong, we need to look at this, we need to look at that. You have to be open to things. And I go into that when I'm talking to my clients, or if I happen to be talking to a celebrity. I'm very interested in why they took this role. Let's say,
Mm.
Julia Roberts, she has, I think, 3 kids. When they were younger, why did you take this specific role? Because you're very, strategic in what you do because you don't want to spend all this time away from your family. It can take 6 months to shoot a movie
Mm.
or 3 months, 4 months. And so I'm very interested in those type of things and not, about the gossip and all that. I'm always just like, how did you get to this place? And now that you're here, how do you stay here? And,
Mm.
what makes you tick? So I think that those things, definitely my curiosity and love for everything entertainment. I always, when I watch a show or something, I'm always thinking like, oh, if I met this person and got the opportunity to interview them, I'm the biggest fangirl. And so these are the questions that I would ask them. And I feel that way about my clients too. Like it's
Mm.
about me being a fan of what they do and making sure that we're giving the right messaging and really having that human connection with them and letting them know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm an extension of you as your PR person for this time.
Mhm.
And, if there's things that you're concerned about or you're nervous about or, whatever, like, I know you're not Julia Roberts and you're not, used to going on and doing all these talk shows and whatever. I know that. But how can I help you? And how can I help you, be comfortable? I'm fine on camera because I've done it so many times and that's what I went to school for.
Mhm.
But I still get nervous if I'm, talking to somebody that I, am super, like, oh my God, I can't believe
Mm.
I'm talking to so and so. I've had moments like where my heart's racing and, whatever. And just trying to talk to my clients about those moments and hopefully getting them set up ahead of time to when
Mm.
they go into that, they're a lot more relaxed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like hypothetical scenarios, like put someone in those shoes, like to prepare them as best as possible. That's like all we can do. Can't like match the real thing, but you can play out, hey, if this starts to happen, if you start to get sweaty, if like whatever it is,
Yeah.
how do you
Or,
respond?
you got to go in being ready, being camera ready,
Yeah.
having your makeup done, having your hair done, even for guys, get like cover up, something to where you're not shiny. You know, I know that's weird for a lot of men, but when you go on TV with all the cameras and lighting, you're going to look shiny and greasy. So, you know, get the powder foundation and, you know, have your wife, your girlfriend, whoever, friend go with you to, you know, get that, whatever, and just have it and, you know, be ready and go over your stuff, you know, write it on index cards, you know, here's what I'm going to be talking about. Here's the steps, because they're probably going to put it up on a Chiron, put it up on TV. So you just have to be ready and know that in some cases, you know, there could be breaking news. So you might be pushed back, you know, or whatever, or God forbid, a cancellation, which I can't control.
Right.
But in today's climate, you just never know what's going to happen in the world.
Right.
So there's just a lot of things that you have to be ready for and just know, okay, I'm prepared. So if this or that happens, I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, I'm my brand. And this is what I want to represent. And you need to show that, you know, when you go in and do a TV appearance or a podcast or even in print, you know, you want to speak at a level to where it shows that you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know, and they take you seriously.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned cancellation there. If like a natural thing happens or something in the world, event, whatever, and someone showed up to do an interview and it gets canceled, do they like invite you back, or how does that work to get back to the show?
So for the most part, a lot of the shows that I work with have these like morning talk shows. So they don't necessarily do straight news. Okay. Now there is moments where that'll happen, and sometimes what they will do, which I've had in the past, is they'll record a segment after the fact. So after their newscast is over, they'll just, you know, push you aside and do an interview, you know, afterwards and say, okay, we're going to play this, you know, next
tomorrow.
week.
Whatever.
Yeah. And so I really have only had that happen once in 4 years.
Wow.
Knock on wood, but it's, you know, it's news. And so, you know, there could be something, you know, with the president, there could be a natural disaster, but for the most part, a lot of these shows are either usually they're live or they're pre-taped, or it's just not that type of show, which we have a lot, you know, here in Los Angeles. You have 2 that are just like straight news. And then you have 2 programs that are more of like those morning, you know, just fun things, kind of like the Today Show.
Yeah.
And then they'll, you know, put in news things, you know, around that. So, you know, you just kind of have to know that you're going into something that is live, and that's why you need to be on time. You need to be prepared and ready to go. As a, you know, person that, like I said, worked in news, every second is accounted for from the producer, because commercial breaks are already scheduled no matter what. And that's why sometimes you'll see on TV, whether you're watching the news or a TV program, all of a sudden it just stops and it goes right to commercial. And you're like, they were in mid-sentence.
Yeah.
It wasn't edited correctly. And so these commercial breaks are already there. And so that's why you have to be there. You got to be ready to go, because every second is accounted for from that producer, because they time out the stories. Every story is timed out. So whether I'm talking about a hurricane, while the anchor is reading, every word that you put on it's calculated. The time is calculated on their sheet. So they go, okay, this story is going to take 30 seconds or 45 seconds. And then this story is going to take 30 seconds. And then we go to a package or an interview, and that's going to take 1 minute and 30 seconds. So every second is so valuable to these producers that you need to be there on time. You need to be ready to go. You might have to wait, and they might say, okay, you got pushed back, you know, because of this story became, you know, more important, what have you. You got to be able to go with the flow and just, like I said, be ready and just get in there and kill it while you're there, and experience those, you know, 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 4 minutes that you're going to be there with, you know, the reporter, the anchor, whoever that you're, you know, sitting with.
So, Ilana, when you jump on a interview, podcast, or news, I'm sure there are very different contexts and different ways that you show up. But what would be a question that you love for hosts to ask you? Like, what is like your sweet spot, or what's a question that maybe you haven't gotten asked yet before that you wish people would ask you? What because you're curious. I know you're curious. What type of questions do you love?
I mean, again, it goes back to the why. I think why people choose what they want to do. I've worked so many 9 to 5 jobs that were not great,
Mm.
that have, taught me a lot. And I think that, those experiences and just being able to look at them, yeah, they sucked at the time and they were awful. And I spent many days crying in my car or crying to my dad on the phone
Mm.
and wondering, like, why do I still live here in Los Angeles? Why am I putting myself, through this? Yes, I work in PR, but PR is just as competitive as working in entertainment and being an actress or whatever. So it goes back to the why. Like, what feeds you, what makes you do these things. And for me, it's really the connection with people and being able to, I just love having people tell their stories and love doing that. I really want to write my own sitcom one day, and I don't know how to write a sitcom. So it's like all these life experiences, I'm just like, maybe it's for a reason, and maybe it was to teach me this or that. I think I've learned through my past experiences how to work with people and how not to work with people, and to look at what they're uncomfortable with and what they're insecure about or what they're nervous about, because it may not be the things that I'm concerned about. And so really trying to work on that with them. And so it really, like I said, it goes back to that. And why is your solution different from other people's? I think my strong suit is really being able to talk to people, having those conversations with them. I'm very interested in everybody that I come across. I am very much the protector, and I want to see good in everything. And so I think that again, it just why it's who, what, when, where, why, right? So it's like, I feel like I've gone through all this stuff, and maybe that's why I keep pushing forward. I mean, I'm not ready to give up. And I think a lot of people can understand the trials and tribulations, whether they're starting their own business, or they want to quit their job, or they're trying to find their passion. I think my passion is really this, and doing PR. I still love entertainment, and I hope that one day I'm able to interview the biggest stars and whatever, because I am the biggest fangirl out there for a lot of these people. But it just comes down to, I just love being able to help people, and I think that this is just an extension of that. And hopefully, like, everything I've been through and going through actually is taking me to where I want to go.
So when you have your own show, Ilana, what will be the best part about that?
Again, it's talking to people. It's making dreams happen. I mean, I have this idea for a charity that I want to do. I've always had this idea, like, since I was 13, 14 years old. And there's so many things that I want to do, and it's just all goes back to the human connection, and it goes back to helping people and letting people stand on their own 2 feet. And I want to do this show where I'm trying to figure it out, doing this YouTube show of just going out and helping people make things happen. And it's great when you get to interview people that you grew up watching, like Oprah or Madonna or Tom Hanks or one of those things. It's great and it's wonderful, but I'm, again, like, they have everything that they need. And so I like talking to people that are that want something. So, like, for instance, if somebody wants to go to a a prom, but they don't have the money for a dress. I would love to have a show that we kind of work to make those things happen for them with a celebrity maybe, and doing that, together. And there's a whole bunch of other ideas that I have, but I think now with YouTube and, Facebook and all these things, you can do these things on your own. It's just finding the right people to surround myself with.
Yep.
But I like talking to people and helping people. And that's what I'm trying to do in every aspect of my life, is that you have to learn that everybody has a story to tell and everyone just wants to be heard. That's it.
I love it, Ilana. Well, you're blessed to be with Jeff. Sounds like an amazing human being to surround yourself with, and I know he's also blessed to have you really leading this charge of public relations and helping all your clients together to really make a bigger impact, to get their message out, to raise their authority and their credibility. So I think it's really, really fortunate and a blessing how you two have come together and all the greatness that you're going to be doing together. So it's really awesome.
Fingers crossed. Yes.
Yeah. And it's like one step at a time, like using what we got, the tools, the resources, the connections, and then like making the difference that we can. And I feel like it really just takes one like all-star to like blow it all open for us. The practice is in helping the people who come across our path, so to speak, and putting in the reps and putting in the time and serving them and gaining mastery over our craft. But like, to be able to interview, for me, it's like, Lewis Howes and Ed Milet and all these epic people who are changing the world, Tom Bilyeu, like these are awesome human beings who I want to like just surround myself with, like you, like just be in conversation with them. And I know that like every single person I value so much and I honor so much along the journey of doing this 12-hour marathon, because they are supporting me in reaching for my dreams. And for you, it's like every single client that you work with is supporting you in reaching your dreams of, hanging out with Oprah and all these amazing people even more. So it's super cool.
Too, speaking on that with you talking about Lewis Howes and all that kind of stuff, it's when you're doing PR or anything, you have to know that you got to sometimes do these little things to get to the big things. Yep. So if we're, say, NBC Santa Barbara or Sacramento, you want to do that first before you get on the Today Show, or let's say like Washington, D.C. That's one of the biggest markets in the country.
Yeah.
I would not want my first interview being on Good Morning America and not being prepared.
Yeah. And
looking like a deer in the headlights. So don't knock these little things, and say, oh, I'm so concerned with how many viewers they have and how many listeners and how many downloads. Again, you're getting your feet wet. You didn't go from kindergarten to high school. It doesn't, work that way. We're not all Sheldon Cooper, smart from Big Bang Theory. So, you have to do these little things, and you're taking steps to get to the next level. I mean, you have, it's a way of getting you prepared and doing those things. So you have to be, ready. Now, if my first celebrity interview was Oprah, I would piss myself. I still to this day would not probably be able to handle it. I would have a heart attack, which is why I told my cousin, who's a nurse, that I would bedazzle her scrubs and her stethoscope. I need her there on just in case I pass out. And I mean, it's these little things, right, that get you to the bigger things.
Yeah.
And so you gotta, practice and get yourself out there. So don't knock it and be like, oh, it's the, 50th market in the country out of 210. Oh, poor me. You've got to look at, this is a clip that I can use, that I can market myself. And sometimes you go, oh, that interview didn't go as well as I thought it would. And so that's why you do more than one interview, right? So you just got to prepare yourself, and you learn from each experience. I learned from every job, what to do, what not to do, what to say, what not to say, who to surround yourself with, whatever it is. You kind of find these things as you get older and experiences that you go through. And that's what you have to look at PR. You can't be looking at, oh my gosh, is only has like 10,000, views on their page, or they don't get that many downloads. It's what you do with that content afterwards that matters. Yes, you might get one lead from a podcast interview, or you might get one, but again, it's repurposing that content and finding ways to use it afterwards that's really going to help you. Don't pay so much attention to these little things. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Ilana. This is so great. And I know people want to continue the journey with you, learn more about PR, learn more about branding, and all the great stuff that you guys got going on at Branded Media. So tell them how they can stay connected with you and what are their next steps.
Yeah, so you can go to brandedmedia.io, and I believe it's /public-relations. And you can find the program there. Like I said, it's like 4 guaranteed placements. We also have other things that we can offer. So just, ask. You can also find me on Instagram under Ms. Hollywood. It's MIZ Hollywood. You can message me through there or get through Jeff Hunter. I believe Jeff J. Hunter is his Facebook. And, we can find a program that'll, work for you and figure something out. There's always ways to kind of change and a la carte, whatever will work, for our clients. We just want to get the right thing for you guys and to help. So whatever we can do.
I love it. I love it, Ilana. This is gold. And everyone stay connected with Ilana at Ms. Hollywood, MIZHOLLYWOOD, Ms. Hollywood, and brandedmedia.io/public-relations, I believe is the website that you mentioned. And Ilana, just let's wrap it up with the final fire, though, the greatest wisdom, GPS message you want to share with our audience. What do you got to say?
I think, if you believe really that you have the solution to help people in any way, it doesn't matter what type of business it is, really stick to that messaging. And, I think that it'll eventually draw the people that you want. And if you are there really with good intentions and doing these things, again, it's finding those ways to connect with your audience and ask them, what it is that they're looking for. Yes, okay, I am this fitness guru, but not everybody has the money, to go to a gym membership. I mean, here in Los Angeles, a gym membership is what other people in places they pay for an entire family is what you pay for one person in Los Angeles. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so you have to say, okay, what is it that you're wanting to learn from me? You want to learn recipes. What can I give you as kind of like a taste, to help you? And I think giving certain things of yourself and figuring out what they want is then going to help you figure out what can you give your audience? How can you serve them best?
Yeah.
So I try and give, I'm in Los Angeles for Ms. Hollywood. A lot of people would love and dream to be here. So I just kind of post things and do, if I'm going somewhere, do behind the scenes, thing, and let them live through me. If it's public relations, really sharing what it is that I think is going to help them and my knowledge and experiences, and say, I know that's what you want, but I would like to talk to you and say, this is what I think would, be better for you. But really listening to what it is that your clients, your audience wants and needs, and then what you can then give them. I think then you have more engagement, more connection with them, rather than saying, no, this is what I'm going to teach you. This is what I'm going to post. I charge for everything, whatever. You have to start giving little things, to your audience, whether it's live conversations, taking their questions, whatever. There's so many different things that you can do in a week, and it's just about connecting and sharing your story with them and hearing their story as well.
I love it. I love it. Ilana, this is gold. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to your journey evolving even more and seeing your show come about and seeing all these different, give back projects that you're out to do and bringing in awesome celebrities and people. So just keep taking one step at a time. Keep throwing the visions against the wall, seeing what sticks.
If I meet Oprah,
when?
The entire world is going to hear me scream. I have just submitted myself to Ellen because she's doing if you want to be a special correspondent on the red carpet for her.
Yeah.
And I recorded a video years ago and sent it. And so now, if anybody, I'm trying so hard to do it. I'm just like, it would be a dream come true. So
Mm.
yeah, but if that happens, I'm sure that everybody will be able to hear it, like scream heard around the world.
I love it. I love it. Ilana, you're a gem. Thank you so much for being on
Thank
here.
you.
Appreciate you, and we'll see you soon, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, take care.